I'm Mark Halperin.
And I'm John Heilemann. Mr. Trump, thanks for your time, and thanks for being such a huge fan of our program, with all due respect.
Tremendous show, tremendous success.
And you yourself have a show, The Apprentice.
And Celebrity Apprentice.
So, you're finally running for president.
I've never done this before. Ever!
You're not doing very well in national polls. You're at like 2% to 5% amongst Republicans.
You know, it hasn't been that easy, right?
On the other hand, in some polls, you do better than Carly Fiorina or Bobby Jindal.
Do you consider that a compliment?
All we're saying is, good luck getting on that debate stage.
Oh, boy.
On the show tonight, Jeb and Judd, but first, the Monopoly Man. Donald Trump's supporters turned out with their own signs today at his eponymous Midtown Tower. The thing looked like a big event at a mega mall, a really, really nice mega mall with first-class escalators, people hanging off the balconies into the atrium, and security guards keeping the throngs in check. Trump is the only candidate, as best we can tell, to announce from both his home and his office, which, of course, is in the skyrise right next to Tiffany's flagship store on Fifth Avenue. After some introductory fanfare, including music from Cats, the Donald arrived from on high, descending from an escalator built by angels. We waited and we waited and we waited, and then the words we all wanted to hear, finally.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am officially running for President of the United States, and we are going to make our country great again.
Trump draws a lot of attention, a lot of haters, a lot of people skeptical he'd ever formally run. He's hired staff. He's a billionaire. How did he do today?
He's a Rorschach test with a really funky hairdo, you know? People who hate Donald Trump.
And there are many.
People who hate Donald Trump and don't take him seriously. I do not hate Donald Trump, but I do not take him seriously. I thought, you know, everything that was garish and ridiculous about him was fully on display. You know, they said he was going to give a nice little short speech. He did that. He ended the speech. The music came on. The event was over. And then he decided to stay on.
We had the addendum.
He did free-form, non-sequitur, unplugged, totally incoherent craziness for another like 25 or 30 minutes. You know, unconventional? Will people who love him love it? Yeah, but will it get him anywhere close to becoming the nominee or the president of the United States? I think not.
If he chooses to continue to hire good people in early states, if he starts opening his checkbook, we now know he's much richer, at least by his claim, than many people thought. And if he gets on the debate stage, if he runs negative ads, he could be part of this debate. And people who didn't think he'd get in, now some are unhappy. They may be underestimating the degree to which a rich, aggressive guy on the stage can make a difference.
Well, let's be clear. We don't know how much he's worth. He said how much he's worth, $9 billion plus. Many people are skeptical about that. It's not really been fully audited. It could be less. But even if it's half, even if it's a third, it's billions of dollars.
Richest person ever to run for president.
And he could go and spend a lot of it on negative ads. We're going to talk later. Was quite critical of Jeb Bush and some others today. He can be a factor because he is likely to get on the debate stage. He can be a factor.
Extended Trump's
but not the nominee.
Next segment, extended Trump excerpts.
Trump experts, for sure.
Trump excerpts.
All right. Jeb, exclamation point, Bush was in Derry, New Hampshire today to engage in that most glorious and revered Granite State political tradition, the town hall meeting. It was John Ellis Bush's first town hall as a candidate in a state that some regard as a must-win for him. Over the course of about 45 minutes, he spoke of many things, including what Mitt Romney might call the E2, executive experience.
I didn't hide behind the collectiveness of the legislative body. I didn't file an amendment and call that success. I actually did things as governor. And I think now it's time to stop talking about things. We got a lot of people that are really good at talking, much better than me. I wish I could speak as well as some of the people I see on TV. It's time for someone to be president to fix a few big things so that this nation takes off. And I believe we can do that.
So before that, Jeb, exclamation point, did an interview with Sean Hannity that'll air later tonight, during which he took a number of shots at Hillary Clinton. Mark, based on today, how solid does Jeb look as a New Hampshire town hall candidate?
This is why I think people who are not bullish on his chances are wrong. Jeb Bush is a great town hall candidate, a great cultural fit for New Hampshire, and I think underrated as a cultural candidate in Iowa, where they also expect town halls. He will stay a long time. He will answer every question, even when he disagrees with people. And I think he showed that today in his first town hall as an official candidate.
Well, I think I have always agreed with you that he is underrated as a retail politician. He's not a great speech giver, despite the fact that he did pretty well yesterday. He's not a great speech giver, but he's good in this forum.
Yeah.
I think the question is, when he starts getting asked questions that he doesn't really like answering, how well he does. The substance of the answers is more the problem than the style. How is he going to answer all the questions about his brother's legacy, et cetera, et cetera? Hasn't done that very well so far.
Not with the media, and voters do ask that. This isn't this isn't a case where a politician can say, well, voters never asked me. But over time, New Hampshire voters will hear an answer to that, and they'll be done asking, I think, because they'll move on to other things. And I'll just say again, Jeb Bush, that format plays to his strength, and his demeanor. When they say in New Hampshire, Iowa picks corn, and New Hampshire picks presidents, they're going to the cultural fit, Jeb's demeanor, I think is going to play very well for them.
As you know, though, New Hampshire has never been a great state for the Bushes.
Not usually. All right, speaking of Jeb exclamation point, the perennial millennial at heart is going on Jimmy Fallon tonight. Not only that, but he's created a new hashtag for the internet to digest, Jeb No Filter. It goes along with this fresh video that he promoted on what the kids call the Twitter.
So Nick is the first person I see every time I come into New Hampshire. I'm dressed like this because my shirt and T-shirt was totally drenched with sweat, so I'm a little sloppy here. But Nick, thanks for welcoming one more time. Thanks, man.
Hey, thank you, Governor.
Good seeing you.
You just print that off the live feed?
Yeah. By the way, just for the record here, Nick always wears a Yankee hat in New Hampshire. What can I say? That shows a lot of courage.
Super cash. All right, John, in these settings, does Jeb come across as hip and as cool and as new as, say, Marco Rubio? Or does Jeb look like he's trying too hard?
Anytime anybody mocks the Yankees, they win a small place in my heart.
And in New Hampshire, that's big.
Yes. But look, hip and cool, no. I don't think he looks hip and cool, but then I don't think Marco Rubio looks hip and cool either. I don't think any of these guys look hip and cool, and I think they always look ridiculous, most of them, when they try. What he looked like there was relatively comfortable. And again, like in the town hall setting, he didn't look like he was trying too hard in that video to be hip and cool. So I think it works okay for him.
This format better work because the Bush campaign, along with Rand Paul and a few others, have high hopes to do a lot of behind-the-scenes videos, a lot of homemade videos. You saw there, they didn't worry about the lighting. He didn't brush his hair. They're hoping when people see him in that way, he'll look better. I still think under-commented on, son of a president did not wear a tie or jacket when he announced for president yesterday.
I commented
You
on
did
it.
indeed.
But
he is comfortable in those settings.
He is.
And except for the fact that you never know what's going to happen with the press, that is unedited. Except edited,
but
right?
But here's the thing: is that hip and cool is still going to come into play when he gets out there with Fallon and others, and we don't know how he is at that.
Like tonight. It's going to be interesting.
All right, it's a house of cards, as in the Cardinals of St. Louis. The New York Times reports that the FBI is investigating whether that hallowed baseball team hacked the Houston Astros computer system to steal players' personal information, actually more like personnel information. If that's the case, if it turns out to be true, this would be the first corporate espionage case in which a pro sports team hacked another team's network. So
and got caught.
Well,
might not be the first case.
Yes, that we know of. Correct. So, Mark, here's my question. We were all consumed with Deflategate just a few months ago. On a scale of bad, evil, malign, which of those is worse? What Tom Brady we all think did, and Tom Brady and his guys did, Deflategate, or this?
It depends on the identity of the hackers. If it was done by management, as opposed to some sort of mid-level or low-level rogue employee, worse than Tom Brady.
Right.
If it's a low-level rogue, as some indications from the Times story are, Tom Brady's worse.
As you know, I pounded Tom Brady. I pounded the Patriots. I'm going to pound the Cardinals even worse. This is a foul franchise, and yes, that is a pun. They are horrible, horrible people involved in that team. I do not like the Redbirds. They are, it's a great franchise. Okay, they're great. But still, somehow, this is revealing the hidden depth of just how dastardly the Cardinals are,
and how technically proficient,
and also potentially illegal. This is actually something someone could go to jail for this.
We'll be covering.
Nobody could do that.
We'll be covering this story pretty much every day for the duration. All right, coming up, the most amusing and important things and amazing things that Donald Trump said today, and the most amazing things that Judd Apatow will say to us after this.
Yeah, boy. So here we're taking another look at Donald Trump making that grand magisterial entrance to his presidential announcement today via escalator at Trump Tower.
Trump is always controversial and does stuff that drives people a little bit nuts. The notion of arriving at an event on an escalator is kind of absurd.
It's strange. I mean, it's absurd, surreal, odd, not something that any normal person would do.
You don't normally see that.
No, not at all.
A lot of attention to the event today. We talked about it earlier in the show. We're going to think about Trump as a magnet for attention. The guy gets covered no matter what he does, whether he's on an escalator or off, whether he's announcing for president or not. He always gets attention and is a polarizing figure.
Right. Nobody is not fascinated or appalled by the Donald. They either, whether they like him or hate him, they still pay attention to him. That's been the core of how he's become such a big figure.
I gotta say, elites don't like him for the most part.
No.
But the masses, a lot of the masses do.
A lot of the masses like him. Elites don't take him seriously, but they are,
Let's not go with the caricature. Let's go with the extended clips and take a look at Donald Trump in his announcement speech today.
Let's seriously think about him as a presidential candidate and how he performed today. And let's start by looking at him as he attacks some of his now official rivals like Jeb Bush.
You looked at Bush. It took him 5 days to answer the question on Iraq. He couldn't answer the question. He didn't know. I said, is he intelligent? Then I looked at Rubio. He was unable to answer the question. Is Iraq a good thing or a bad thing? He didn't know. He couldn't answer the question. How are these people going to lead us? Bush is totally in favor of Common Core. I don't see how he can possibly get the nomination. He's weak on immigration. He's in favor of Common Core. How the hell can you vote for this guy? You just can't do it.
So if you're Jeb Bush looking at this from up in New Hampshire today, how worried are you about this, if at all?
Worried because the guy could start spending tens of millions of dollars on negative ads. Trump is constantly courted by Republican presidential candidates, which is why when the haters dismiss him as irrelevant, he is courted. He mentioned today he's got meetings coming up with these guys. I think I'd be worried if I were Bush, but I think anybody who Trump thinks he can get attention by attacking, he'll attack. And if he does paid media, oof.
I sort of think that Jeb Bush, you sort of grow in stature by the quality of your attackers.
Maybe.
If Donald Trump starts to attack Jeb Bush, it seems to me if Jeb Bush is any good, he can turn that to his advantage.
If Trump does it personally, but if he does it through paid media that just says at the end, I'm Donald Trump and I paid for this message, I'd be worried just by the pure volume of the ads, particularly if he decides to go on TV soon.
But I think this is still a question. Yeah. We know Donald Trump has a lot of money. Yeah. How much is he actually going to spend?
We'll see. All right. Now, one of the things that happened today that got a lot of notice was Donald Trump in an era, in a year, when most candidates are playing down their personal wealth, played his up big time.
I'm proud of my net worth. I've done an amazing job. So the total is $8,737,540,000. Now, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that to brag, because you know what? I don't have to brag. I don't have to, believe it or not. I'm doing that to say that that's the kind of thinking our country needs. We need that thinking. We have the opposite thinking. We have losers. We have losers.
Is there an advantage to saying, I am so rich? A political advantage or not?
No, there's no advantage to it whatsoever. But that's what Trump likes to be known for. He wants to be known as the symbol of wealth in America. I love the fact that the greatest thing about that is I'm not bragging here, but I am very, very rich. But I'm not bragging.
I will tell you, Arnold Schwarzenegger won people over in California by talking about how successful he was. There are some people, Trump's base supporters, like to hear it, although I will say, in that room, it looked like the cutaways and the producers, people looked a little unclear about why he was doing it.
It's so much at odds with his other populist overtones, though. That's what's so strange about it. It's kind of incoherent. All right. Now let's get to the rest of these clips. This is very Trumpy.
I beat China all the time. When do we beat Mexico? They just built a hotel in Syria. Are you running? Are you not running? Could we have your support? Obama is going to be out playing golf. He might even be on one of my courses. I would invite him. We need a leader that wrote The Art of the Deal. I'm going to tell you a couple of stories about trade. We get Bergdahl, they get 5 killer terrorists. I own a big chunk of the Bank of America building that I got from China in a war. I'm really rich. I love the Saudis. Many are in this building. They always keep our equipment. Do you really think that these people are interested in Yemen? Ford will come back. They'll all come back. But, Mr. Trump, you're not a nice person. We don't need nice. That's true. But actually, I am. And I promise I will never be in a bicycle race. That I can tell you.
Here's the thing. Somebody watching that might say it couldn't possibly have been that much stream of consciousness. it was actually more stream of consciousness than what we just represented.
He went off script a lot for a guy in his presidential announcement.
Absolutely amazing. All right, after the break, right here in this studio, Judd Apatow. Boom. We'll be right back.
We like movies, we like books, and we like jokes, and our guest tonight makes all three, so we like him. Plus, he's pretty good on Twitter. Judd Apatow, whose new book is called Sick in the Head. Sir, thank you for coming on the program.
It's great to be here.
You're here on a big news day. Donald Trump announces for president.
Very not exciting.
You are an historic figure in the sense that a couple years ago you helped President Obama with some jokes for the Correspondents' Dinner. John and I reported in our book.
Yes, I'm in your book.
And one of those jokes is about Mr. Trump, and we're going to look at a little bit of that.
Okay.
You, Mr. Trump, recognized that the real problem was a lack of leadership. And so ultimately you didn't blame Little John or Meatloaf. You fired Gary Busey. And these are the kind of decisions that would keep me up at night.
All right. Was that an easy target? How'd you come up with the idea to go after Mr. Trump?
Well, the great John Lovett, who is someone who was one of his speechwriters and still helps out on that speech, calls me every year. We see if we can come up with anything that we can get in the speech. And, Trump is a worthy target because he only runs for president to promote Celebrity Apprentice. And I'm a fan of Celebrity Apprentice. I like the show, and I like he's doing what it takes to keep it on the air, but I don't think he needs to run for president.
So you bring a sense of skepticism to the fact that today he formally declared he's running.
Well, he's not running for president. He's running for Keep Me Famous. Like, who is giving Donald Trump money at this point? Are there people who actually donate money to the Trump campaign, or is it all his money?
They'll be coming after you for his super PAC.
Exactly, the Trump super PAC.
President Obama's pretty good. That's the one.
He's so funny, it's scary. And I remember when he was running for president the first time, I saw him at some town hall, and he said something so cutting and funny. I thought, oh, he's almost too funny to win this election. Like, he can't reveal that he has those gifts.
Another guy who did a famous Correspondents' Dinner routine was Stephen Colbert.
Yes.
And you write about that a little bit. You write about that a little bit in the book.
Yes.
Like watching Colbert over the years when he did that show, he's about to do a new show.
Yes.
What do you see from how? What can you learn from how he deals with confronting the powerful?
Yeah.
Right in front of them on stage and on set making fun of them.
Well, that was an incredible moment. And what he said to me in the book, he said he just really liked his speech. And he was excited to do his speech. And right beforehand, someone said, do you want to talk to the president? And the president was going over his notes for his jokes and his speech. And he said, I don't want to talk to him because in order for me to do the speech, I have to be attacking his ideas. I can't humanize him and make him another guy working on a funny speech.
Another guy in the book, Jon Stewart.
Yes.
Is leaving the stage on the eve of a presidential campaign. There's been a lot of commentary about this, but I'm interested in what you think. How will things be different in our political media landscape in the context of a presidential campaign and no Jon Stewart?
I wish, we could say that Jon Stewart, changed a lot of what happened in politics. I think socially Jon Stewart changed a lot. I think a lot of the reason why we have a generation of kids who think that prejudice is ridiculous, I think it's affected a lot of the reason why gay marriage passed quicker, because it's a whole generation of people that have been taught by people like Jon Stewart and South Park that a lot of these behaviors are just ridiculous. But in terms of getting people elected or not elected, I don't think the show affected anything. He couldn't have been funnier about George Bush, and George Bush won twice, and he eviscerated him, and it didn't seem to have an effect.
You've been outspoken about money in politics being a bad thing.
Yes.
Does that apply to money, big money from Hollywood liberals in politics?
Well, I just think it's ridiculous that anybody thinks that rich people care about other people. And just as simple as that. Like when the Koch brothers give $1 billion for the new election cycle, it isn't out of a great concern for the masses. So everyone is forced into this game.
But that applies, from your point of view, just as much to Hollywood liberals as to the Koch brothers?
I think the difference is that Hollywood liberals would be willing to change the entire system if we all would get the money out of it, and I don't think the conservatives would do it.
So you've built, an empire, a comedy empire, a comedy...
I should buy some politicians with this empire of mine.
You should set up a comedy party of some kind. But you've been behind the camera guy,
yes.
right? As a producer, as a director, as a writer,
yes.
et cetera. Now you're back on stage.
Yes.
You're doing stand-up. You were just at the Beacon here in New York last night. How, has that been freaky to get back up in front of people and actually perform and judge your material in real time?
I like it because when you're directing, you work on a project for 2-3 years, and then in one day, when your movie comes out, you find out if you succeeded or failed. Where with stand-up, you have fun every night. If it goes badly, you just do it again the next night. So it's nice to have that component to my career where there's something that's just pleasure and not terror of failure.
Right. Do you, sir, still do an imitation of Steve Martin?
I don't have a good Steve Martin. I can only do Tony Roberts in Annie Hall. Okay. Twins, Max. Imagine the possibilities. That's all I have.
You used to do Steve Martin, but you've lost?
Well, I think for about 10 years of my life, I just talked in that voice.
Like which voice?
Just as a kid, you're just like, hey, how are you guys doing right now? And we all talk like that for most of the 70s and 80s.
So specifically the wild and crazy guy voice.
Yes, exactly. The jerk period.
Yeah, how about the rambling guy?
And the rambling guy.
Yeah,
I used to listen to Steve Martin. We would drive to South Carolina on vacation, and we would listen to him for 14 straight hours.
And what's the essence of why he's so funny?
As a kid, I didn't know. I didn't know he was making fun of show business or the absurdity. I just thought, I don't know what it is about this man, but he brings me...
There's something about him that's funny.
Exactly. See? It makes you laugh.
It is funny that you say that because I can remember so clearly that time frame walking around just saying, omelette du fromage.
Exactly,
all the time.
yes.
It's going to be embarrassing.
Someone hates these cans.
Real quick, you've got Amy Schumer's movie coming out.
Trainwreck, yes. Trainwreck.
Just in a couple weeks, right?
That's right, yes.
Just make the pitch for that movie. I'm sure, you don't need help selling movie tickets from us, but go ahead.
Well, Amy Schumer, she's an important voice right now. She's very political. She is like a George Carlin type voice. We need more strong female voices and comedians, and she's written a really funny, personal, raucously hilarious movie, and I think it came out great. We're excited, and LeBron James is in it, and we all want to see more LeBron James comedy. And so
the comedy styling.
Yeah, and he kills it. It's annoying.
A famously hilarious genre.
Yeah, and he's really funny in the movie.
Judd Apatow's new book called Sick in the Head, available now at finer bookshops and other places. Thanks for coming in. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
We'll be right back.
It's time for you, as it always is, to get your Trump fix on. At BloombergPolitics.com, you got Mark's scouting report. Also, Will Leach with the great column on the Donald.
Remember, we're on twice a day at 5 and at 8. Until tomorrow, same bat time, same bat channel. Sayonara.